Envy and jealousy are some of the worst human traits that exist. Those two traits combined equal hatred. Hatred of an innocent person, most likely unbeknownst to that person. On December 20th, 1999, on a cold winter's morning, Lois Lolo Thomas would go down to start her car for work and never be seen again. This story comes out of Calumet City, Illinois. Illinois is known for its contributions to the American automotive industry. It's also the first home of McDonald's, the home of the burgers and fries. Illinois also produces more nuclear energy than any other state in the country. Lois Lolo Thompson was born July 11th, 1979. She was the only girl, and she had 4 brothers. Her father passed away years ago, which left her mom depressed, and her mother would later state that Lois was the light of her life. She gave her hope and love, and she made her feel that life was worth living and that she would be okay, and the two of them together would make it through the storm. Her mother said that she was her strength. She taught her how to be strong, and she would tell her mother, "Smile. God loves you, and I love you too." Lois enjoyed working with children. She worked at the Child Life Daycare Center that was close to her home. She was loved by the students and also the parents, and her peers thought that she was a great assistant. Lois was a dependable worker. She showed up for work, and she had responsibility for those children, and she did her job with love and care and kindness. On December 20th, 1999, the phone would ring at the family home for Lois Thomas. When the phone was answered, her employer went on to state that Lois had not shown up for work that morning. It was around 9:45, and she was wondering if maybe she was sick and she forgot to call in. Lois' mother, who had been home recovering from a surgery that she had had recently, couldn't understand why she wouldn't be at work because she saw her daughter leave for work that morning. When Lois' mother hung up the phone, she walked to the back window and saw that the car was still idling in the chilly air from that morning. Her mother notated that that morning there was nothing strange. Authorities were notified, and they arrived at 1700 Memorial Drive in Calumet City. They said they could find no evidence of foul play. The only thing that was suspicious was there was no sign of Lois Lolo, and that her car was still present and running. They noted that the vehicle had likely been running since that early morning when she went out to start it to prepare for work. Lois's mother would later state that from the moment she saw that vehicle running, she had a gut feeling that something had happened to her daughter. She says she didn't know if she had been in a car accident or if some man had snatched her baby, and her nightmare began. When the word got out and the rumors circulated and the news verified that Lois was missing, rumors started to spread. Marianne Arnold, 22 years old, of the 500 block of East 151st Street in Phoenix, along with Marianne, Catherine Amos, who was 16 years old, of the 200 block of West Street in Harvey, Illinois, and Evelyn Marie Jackson, who was 18 years old, from the 200 block of West 154th Street in Harvey. Rumors were circulating that not only did these 3 have knowledge of what could have happened to Lois, but they also may have been participants. The Calumet City Police Department received a tip that these ladies were possibly involved, and they picked all 3 of them up for questioning. 16-year-old Catherine Amos was the first one of the young ladies to be questioned. She wasn't prepared to lie to investigators. She broke down quickly, and she told them the whole story. She told them what part she played in it, and she also explained to them that in the beginning it was supposed to be just a scare. They were supposed to kidnap her and scare her. Once Catherine had disclosed to investigators what happened, the other 2 ladies went ahead and told their version. Evelyn would tell authorities that they didn't mean to kill her. They wanted to scare her, and things went too far. and they were afraid. They were afraid that once they released her, she would go to authorities and they would all go to prison. When the questioning was completed with all three young ladies, the confessions were sent to the state's attorney, and the state's attorney decided to prosecute. The two adult women, Mary Arnold and Evelyn Jackson, along with 16-year-old Catherine Amos, were all charged with first-degree murder. They were also charged with several counts of aggravated kidnapping and intent to inflict harm. Bond for the three suspects was set at $3 million apiece. During the interrogation, the police were able to put together a timeline of the events that occurred on December 20th, 1999. On that morning around 6:55 a.m., Lois was outside starting her car to get ready for work that morning. She returned to her apartment to let her family know that she was getting ready to go to work. When 20-year-old Lois returned to her car about 5 minutes later, Arnold was waiting there, and she had a gun. Along with her were Catherine and Evelyn. They forced Lois into Arnold's car, and the three of them drove away with the victim. Police said that Arnold had obtained a gun from Amos, and the weapon was used to frighten Thomas, but after they put the fear in Thomas, they felt like she would not let that go, that she would go to authorities and she would have them arrested. The three of them hatched out a plan, and they decided that they would beat her and torture her, and then they would murder her. The three offenders would drive Lois to Bupian Woods and murder her. It's a forest preserve near 136th Street, and it's off of Dexel Avenue, located in Calumet City. Once they got her there, they made Lois walk down a ramp into the river. When they got close to the river, they started to beat her. During the assault, Lois was viciously beaten. They tied an electrical cord around her neck that was basically a string of Christmas tree lights. They began beating Lois with a hammer, a cane, and they also used a boulder that was nearby, dropping it on her body multiple times. After the series of fatal blows were given to Lois, they pushed her body into the Calumet River. Detectives went on to say that the severity of the beating was vicious, and that within 45 minutes from the time they abducted Lois by gunpoint, she had been killed. They stated that during the ride to the forest, that the weapon was discharged by accident and it shattered the windshield of the car. Detectives were only able to take these three ladies into custody because an anonymous witness showed up at the Riverdale Police Department and told them that these three suspects had something to do with the disappearance of Lois. The police also took Arnold's vehicle into custody, and they found a lot of evidence that proved that Lois had been in that vehicle. Now, during the interrogation, all three defendants stated that the reason for the abduction was because Arnold said that Lois was having an affair with her boyfriend, Al. He lived in Phoenix, and she had 3 children by him. And Arnold was jealous. She felt like Lois was trying to break up her home, and she wanted to put a stop to it. She wanted to teach her a lesson. When authorities questioned Arnold's boyfriend, Al, he stated that he had never had an affair with Lois. He said that he and Lois were only good friends, and that this was some type of jealous rage that he knew nothing about. Al was cleared and he had no knowledge of this, and he had no parts in this. Authorities surmised that Lois Lolo Thomas was killed out of a misguided jealousy, a jealous rage over a friendship with 24-year-old Al, because Arnold falsely accused her. Several days after Lois's disappearance, the Linwood Fire Department chief stated that the Calumet River had started to freeze, and maybe that would be an advantage to authorities trying to recover her body. On that Tuesday morning, 8 divers were immersed in a 34-degree, partially froze Calumet River. The divers were equipped with axe and chains to cut through the ice. They dragged about 200 yards of the river with ropes. Divers were not able to recover Lois's body. They stated that about 45 barges had used the river during a time period since the murder had occurred, and that her body had possibly been swept away. Authorities did not give up. They continued to search the Calumet River for 9 days. And on December 31st, 1999, on New Year's Eve, Lois's body was discovered. They said miraculously, because of the frigid temperatures, that her body had been preserved, and it looked to them as if she was just sleeping. After 2 years of going back and forth to court in the Cook County Circuit Court located in Markham, Illinois, the three offenders decided to go ahead and plead guilty to the murder charges. During the proceedings, because they were facing the death penalty, Arnold stood up and decided to make a plea to the family. She apologized to Lois's family for what happened, and she told them that she didn't have any intentions of killing Lois and that she had made a horrible mistake, and she asked for forgiveness. Mary Ann Arnold was sentenced to 2 counts of first-degree murder. She received a sentence of 80 years, and she also received 15 years for aggravated kidnapping with no chance of parole. Evelyn Jackson received 45 years in prison for first-degree murder. She also received 30 years for aggravated kidnapping. Catherine Amos pled guilty. She received 20 years in prison for first-degree murder and 15 years for aggravated kidnapping. But Catherine made a deal with prosecutors. She turned state's evidence against the other 2 offenders. Catherine Amos was released on parole on February 8, 2022. Arnold and Jackson are currently serving out their sentence with the Illinois Department of Corrections. Lois' mother, Ms. Thomas, stated that this is a horrible process. Words can never express. Every mother expects that their children will bury them, not that they will bury their children. I've lost a lot of people in my life that were dear to me, but nothing was like burying my daughter. But I keep my spirits going because I know that she would want me to. I look up and I know that I have an angel watching down over me. The sad part about this case is that Mary Ann Arnold murdered Lois for no reason. The man that she wanted, Al, never wanted her then, and he didn't want her after the murders. He abandoned her. He never came to visit her in prison, and she's there lonely. In the end, 2 families suffered, the children of Mary Ann and the family of Lois Lolo Thomas.